Kingdom Hearts Melon has got to be one of my all-time favorite community created projects. This is because Square Enix never gave us remastered versions of Days or Recoded, rather just opting to make HD cinematics to explain the story within the HD Remix remaster compilation of the Kingdom Hearts games. It's understandable why Square Enix decided not to completely remaster these games, because it wouldn't be a remaster but more so along the lines of a complete remake. Square would had to have rebuilt these games from scratch, from the ground up, entirely on the older Kingdom Hearts engine, and that right there would have taken a lot of time. And we know that during the time of 1.5 in 2013 and 2.5 in 2014, development on Kingdom Hearts 3 was the main priority. However, while Melon isn't a remake by any means of the DS Kingdom Hearts games, this is the definitive way to experience those titles. These are still very much the original DS versions of those games, running on a modified version of the Melon DS emulator. But those modifications are important as they modernize the experience of Recoded in Days for current PCs. And these changes make these games so much more enjoyable to play. We're talking about widescreen, increased resolution for improved clarity, and this supports any resolution and aspect ratio. The dual screen elements are combined into one singular screen, reorganized heads-up display, full-blown controller support, allowing you to control the camera with an analog stick or control the command menu with the D-pad, an improved lock-on system, and we've even got the HD cutscenes replacing out the DS versions from HD Remix. This currently is only 4 days as of right now, but will later on be applied to Recoded. I really can't praise the work that Vidor and his team have been doing over the past few years. This is a project that's been in development for quite some time, I believe starting back in 2021, with the very first version of it releasing in February of 2023. It's been about 6 months since I last talked about Melon, and there's been even more improvements and updates applied in that time. The last update I talked about introduced the initial support for Kingdom Hearts Recoded, as originally Melon was only a refinement of Days. Now it's focused on refining and improving both DS games. However, while the support for Recoded was there and it was certainly playable, there were definitely a lot of bugs, mainly looking at the heads-up display or information menu graphics. A lot of those issues with Recoded have been fixed over the past 6 months, and we now have all of the important UI information displayed on one screen, like how many enemies we need to defeat in a systems sector, or what your current progress is for that floor's CP objective. Most of these updates have focused on fixing issues and bugs throughout both games, along with cleaning up the heads-up display, especially looking at Kingdom Hearts Recoded. We do have an issue of not being able to see commands reloading properly within the command menu, but this will be fixed later on. Recoded has a pretty impressive combat system, considering that this is an action RPG developed for Nintendo DS. Seriously, the developer's hand did a superb job of making a Kingdom Hearts game here, and took what they learnt from Days and some of the ideas from Birth by Sleep to make an even better DS experience for Recoded. And that gameplay really truly shines so much better here playing on Melon, especially with the full controller support. I've always said that from a gameplay perspective, most certainly not a story perspective, but a gameplay perspective, Recoded is the better DS Kingdom Hearts game compared to Days. With the current 0.5.9 version of Melon right now, these games are presented in such a clean manner, allowing those who originally missed out on playing these games on the DS all of those years ago to finally have an improved experience of which, because I think it's important that people actually play these games and not just experience them via the cutscenes included in HD Remix. Now there's still quite some work left to be done for this project. There's some really exciting stuff in the pipeline. In the last video, we talked about how one of the big updates that Vidor and his team are working on is the HD texture replacements, basically taking a lot of the HD textures from Kingdom Hearts HD Remix games, along with developing entirely new assets, and replacing all of the textures throughout both Days and Recoded to give it more of a remastered feel. It'll still be those original games, just with high definition textures. It's a pretty ambitious undertaking, just considering that these guys have to work within the restrictions of the Nintendo DS environment. This is still being planned and has been worked on for quite a while now. I would say that it'll likely be one of the final things that gets added to Melon Mix. This aims to remaster not just the environments, all of the worlds, but videos also looking at replacing the 3D models as well for the higher polygon count version. There's an important note here mentioning that people shouldn't expect modern game quality for the 3D models, it still needs to run on the DS CPU. So going back to that comment that I made, it still has to work within the restrictions of the DS environment. There's a few other exciting things in the pipeline to look forward to as well, like replacing all of the music from both games with the remastered tracks, proper pause functionality to any of the HD cutscenes that are replacing out the original ones, as right now, pausing during these cutscenes will simply just skip them. The option to control the camera with the mouse, menus adapted into a single screen. This is a really interesting one. I'm not sure if they actually plan on incorporating the two screens that are currently side by side in the current build of Melon Mix into one screen. I think that's what that means, or it could just simply mean further improvements to the already existing layout, along with a brand new camera mode. There's some other stuff here that's being considered, like Lua script support, which is great for if people want to make modified Lua scripts for modded runs of Days and Recoded, proper controller vibration and rumble, support for retro achievements, so we could actually have unlockable achievements for both games, and themed command menus, depending on what world you're in, similar to Kingdom Hearts 2 or 3. Now, upon talking about Melon Mix a few times, one of the questions that I see quite often is, how do I actually play this? It is incredibly straightforward, but I thought I'd just include a really quick setup guide in this video. I'll leave a link to the most up-to-date build of Melon Mix in the description down below. Scroll down to the bottom of the page and click on the Windows x86 link. This is for if you're using Windows. If you're using Mac, click on the Mac version, or if you're using Linux, click on the Ubuntu version. Simply extract the Melon Mix folder somewhere on your computer. Inside the Melon Mix folder, create a folder called ROMs, and here you'll throw in your Days and Recoded ROM files. While I won't provide links to these, you can find them incredibly easily by simply just Googling them. Now, it's important that you rename the ROM files to days.nds and recoded.nds. Now, if you want the HD cutscenes for Days, you'll have to download a separate folder that contains these. A link to that is in the description down below. Simply copy the assets folder in this download into the assets folder of your Kingdom Hearts Melon Mix folder. Now, it's important before you start playing that you go into the Melon Mix exe and configure your control settings. Make sure that one of the games is currently playing, then go to config and then input settings. If either Recoded or Days isn't currently running on the emulator, then the custom input options won't appear. Once you've finished up setting the basics, it's important that you go over to add-ons, as you'll have some custom controller options specific for both of these Kingdom Hearts games, like HUD toggle or lock-on, switching target, or command menu interaction. You'll also want to go over to the touchscreen section and change the joystick mappings to your right analog stick. That way you've got camera control for the analog stick. The last important thing to do is going into the video settings and changing the internal resolution. The max here is 16 times native, which is 4096 by 3072. Now you can easily start either Days or Recoded by clicking on the corresponding batch file that's within the Melon Mix folder. And that's it. That's how you play Melon Mix. Incredibly easy. Whenever an update's applied, you can simply just download it off the GitHub and drag its contents into your already existing Melon Mix folder. So that's the current state of Kingdom Hearts Melon Mix, a really cool project to modernize both Recoded and Days. Something that fans have been wanting for an incredibly long time now, especially looking at Days. I really don't think that Square Enix will do anything more extra with either of these games, just considering now the focus is the new Lost Master saga, along with the fact that if any game needs a remake of any kind, it should go to Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. So bless Vidor and his team for providing an improved experience of these games. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Be sure to slap that like button, it helps me out more than you know. Hit the subscribe button. A big thanks to my wonderful patrons. I hope you're all having a fantastic day, and we'll talk again real soon.